call in,
Yes.
because they're not here.
Why don't we start the meeting? 6:05. There's no adjustments to the agenda. There's no minutes, but we don't have any minutes left. Do we? No. Correspondence, okay, so new business application for variance, Nicholas and Celine Trush. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did.
Received on December 5th, 2022. So why don't you tell us what you're up to?
We would like to build a garage. We want to move to Rangeley full time. I'm going to retire in 2025. So really our house now just has a crawl space, a 4-foot crawl space under it. So we'd like to build a garage. We went, had it surveyed. We walked a lot with the neighbors. We don't want to cut any trees. It's to change the aesthetics of the property. And the only level ground we really have is below the leach field, down where I mapped it on the site plan. It would require minimal excavation. We don't want to attach it to the house because that would require digging, down frost walls and everything. So I'm open to suggestions, but I mean, we've talked to the neighbors. The Arnolds do not want trees cut. So I'd put it on the other side. So we're trying to fit it in there. I mean, basically, that's the gist of it.
Okay, speaking of talking to your neighbors, just to be clear, did they say that they had a problem with you building a garage?
No, they'll actually give me a letter if I want to build it closer to the property line. They said 10 feet. They just don't want the trees cut on. If you go down my driveway, I don't know if you're familiar with the property.
Yeah, Dennis went and checked it out.
Okay, yeah, when you go down that driveway, we own from our driveway to the rights to the Arnolds, and that's trees like a natural buffer. I mean, their sign is actually on our property. I mean, we kind of jockeyed it around trying to put the garage way up by the road, but trying to hold the distance you have to from the town right away, the CMP right away, and where our leach field is, it wouldn't give us an option of relocating the driveway. So we're basically stuck. And over on the other side also is their septic tank. If you come down the driveway, before camp is our septic tank, and right on the other side of the property line is their septic tank. And it actually gets pumped up to where you saw the stacks when you come down the driveway where the set of 3 chambers are.
You see that? Okay.
We just figured this was the less intrusive way to the environment, to everything. There's no cutting the trees, there's no relocating driveways. It's just scoop out for a monolithic slab and build the garage if possible.
Who's doing the construction?
I talked to Mark, Rangeley Modeling, and he's out 3 years. So that's until we got the permit, we didn't go that. I lined up Kenny. He said he doesn't need a notice to do the site work. And then Grimaldi Concrete, he said if I gave him, he could do the slab. But the construction right now is, I mean, I built the house, so I might end up building the garage, because if everybody in Rangeley is 3 years out, then it really doesn't give me an option to hire a local contractor. I mean, I actually built that house and the Arnold's house when Steve Boucher was there. I framed that with him. I mean, I built multiple houses. And I have a crew that will come up and frame it. We'd like to complete it, this summer, but I definitely need it by 2020. I would like it by 2025 when we retire, because we're going to sell our property in New Hampshire and move up there. So.
Good.
Can I ask a question, Brian?
Yeah, sure.
Though it doesn't apply to this, because you're gonna put the garage 20 feet away from the property line, can you tell us what that 10-foot right-of-way thing is?
Yeah, the lot used to belong to Maloof, that original property owner, when we bought it 30 years ago across the street. He sold that lot, and it's a right of way to walk to the water. You can't build on it. You can't launch a boat from it, but you can walk down to the lake. There's one on our side, and there's 10 feet on Nancy's side.
So there's
I don't-
There's a
Excuse me?
20-foot right of way that allows that person that owns a lot across the street to walk back and forth to the lake.
Basically to the lake. They can't put a mooring out or anything else. They can just walk down to the lake and walk back.
Can you tell us what you envision for a garage design? Is it one story, 2 stories? Is it what?
Just frame up 8-foot walls, go up with an 8 pitch and have an attic storage space.
Do you intend to use it for residential use at all?
A garage, I mean, as a garage, storage and to put our snowmobiles in. And our right now, we got kayaks that are underneath. We try to cram underneath. We don't have a place for a lawnmower. If I'm up there, we'd like to mow the lawn. So basically just your regular household stuff, storage and
Yeah, what else?
but no living space. We ain't intended to live above the garage or anything like that. I mean, it wouldn't have any. Yeah. Only thing we would like to do is put a generator set by it to, because we lose power, and that would put a generator there and tie it to the garage and then feed the house with that, or somewhere's in there. But no, there's no, just use it as a garage is what we're after.
Question, Roy? No. How do you feel about it?
It's pretty straightforward.
I did talk to the plumbing inspector, and it's about the leach field, the chambers. He said I gotta be 15 feet from the natural slope. So before we proceeded with where the, like final location, and I would meet him on site and make sure that his agreement where the natural slope of the leach field meets the thing, because we might be able to go a little further away from the lake. But without meeting him up there, I think I can go a little further, but I would like to meet with him before I actually put it down that I could, Because them chambers are pretty far up, and they look like they were cut right into the hill. And because there's no snow, you should see it. The slope goes up, but we would like to go as far as we can on the flat towards the leach field. And
If you had to guess, what would you think? Could you gain 10 feet, 15 feet?
we might be able to, I'm thinking 10 feet. So we'd actually be at like 75 feet instead of 65.
Well, I was just, you're getting, the 85 would be at 95, which would be much better. But I'm just looking at your yard, and it looks like a heck of a place to do snow removal. Once you get the garage built in there, it doesn't look like you have a lot of place or anywhere to put the snow.
Well, right, we would, like January right now, if you go up there, they push it right beside the camp towards the water where the
Right.
roll of Christmas trees are. That's
Right.
why we wanted to keep it enough, at least 10 feet back so you can actually fit a vehicle with a plow through there. We're gonna switch to snow blowing when we move up there anyhow. So,
You're gonna have at least 10 feet from the camp, the house to the garage.
right, yeah, so you can get
Okay.
through there, yes.
Yeah. That'll make it a little easier. Then you can just plow down in front of the doors and then push it out through that spot.
Right, that's what they do now. They push down towards that little fire pit that's there. And then you back into it, then you push it over towards the propane tanks up past them. You can see, well, there's a turnaround area, which is plenty of room to push some more snow up that way towards the telephone pole.
Well, if you're gonna move up here and live up there, you're definitely gonna want a garage.
Yeah, it's just like if we had a basement, we might be able to fit storage, but basically we'd have a closet and 2 closets upstairs, and for the 2 of us, it's just not enough room. So the storage is the more, and it saves you from cleaning your car off. But that really isn't the issue. It's like going from 2 houses to 1 and making it livable.
No, I don't. Wanna come down building one? You got a big garage.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of too bad Carl didn't chime in. This is one provision under granting a variance that if it's within 250 feet of the water deep, he has to be notified.
Okay.
So I guess we got two routes we could go. We could, if we're inclined to approve it, we could either approve it with that being a condition, or we could wait until we hear from DEP.
I think the ordinance says that
We have to
we
consider.
have to wait until we hear from DEP.
Well, it does say that, I mean, if you make it conditional.
Right.
That would.
Would be pending DEP,
Because they want you to base your
What's that?
decision on,
pending DEP approval.
Yeah,
right. They want you to base your decision depending on their determination. That's all. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with it. But, yeah. Yeah. Now, you don't know if that was done, do you?
What?
When somebody applies
Contacted
for
the DEP.
appeal, then
I am not,
somebody needs to send that off to the state.
if this isn't an appeal, it's a variance request.
So I guess about the only we can do is vote to send it to the state. And meet again once we get the determination from them. That sounds right.
Or we, if we feel in favor of this, we can vote as long as the state approval is there. That way we don't have to meet again. Or if we vote against it, then it's done anyway, but I'm just,
Yeah, is that what the state's gonna do though? Are they gonna approve it or are they just gonna
Well,
give their opinion?
they would give you their opinion, and if it was contradictory to what we decided tonight, then we'd have to look at it again. It'd all be depending on DEP's approval.
I don't know, just from prior planning board experience, we always, I don't know if they still do it or not, but we would always just say, you know, we approve it pending all state
And they do.
and
that.
federal regulations. Right.
Yes.
I don't have a problem going with
That works for me.
Works for me too.
that. Okay.
Need someone to make a motion?
Sure.
So we need to use the, working determination worksheet we should have.
Yeah, we'll approve this
You
a
have to
while
go
back,
through it
right?
that way. Yep.
We have to fill this out.
Actually, it's ready to just read through it, and he is presenting it as owner, so.
We can get out through this, right?
Yep. The applicant has standing to present this application. You are in fact the owners.
Yes,
this motion.
I'll motion that they have standing to.
All in favor? Oh, second, all in favor. Zoning board has the authority to consider this application by section 38.8.4 of the Rangeley Code. Code enforcement officer made his determination on the date.
He hasn't given me the date.
Well, he determined the send it here. Somebody did. Um,
I'll make the motion.
Second it. All in favor? In determining the proposed variance prevention of unnecessary or undue hardship by literal enforcement of chapter 38 of the town of Rangeley Code, without being contrary to the public interest, the zoning board of appeals shall consider the following. The variance request is of a nature that may be authorized and limited to height, area, size of structure, size of yards or open spaces or setbacks reduction.
I think you're gonna describe in that in your request for your setback reduction, right?
You don't have to fill out anything on that, you just have to consider those 5 items.
The land in question cannot yield a reasonable return unless the variance is granted. Probably not. Don't think that has any impact on it.
Well, let's just say unless the variance is granted, he's not gonna be able to put a garage in there and, you know, I assume when he bought the land at some point in time, he figured he might retire here and put in a garage. So
Okay, that the need for a variance is due to a unique circumstance of the property, not the general condition of the neighborhood. Well, I think the unique circumstances doesn't appear to be any option. You know, if they want to go ahead and do the garage,
And it's limited where this garage gets set on the property.
excuse me, that the granting of variance will not alter the essential character of the locality.
As long as the neighbors don't complain that this inhibits their view of the lake. Yeah, every property down through there has got buildings on it, so,
Yeah,
you know.
they're all of the same character. That the hardship is not the result of action taken by the applicant or of a prior owner. That doesn't seem to be the case. Reasonable conservation of natural beauty. They are trying to avoid cutting trees.
So, flip the page.
Well,
I was like, where'd you go? I lost it.
I was making progress. That was a lot of reading. If the proposed.
So that's
We gotta make a motion.
based on motion, yes.
Okay. Based on 3A-B above, the zoning board of appeals finds the proposed variance does or does not prevent unnecessary or undue hardship by local enforcement, negatively affecting public interest.
Does not, right?
It does not. Wow.
Whose motion?
Or
That's so.
It's your choice. It's you falling in that, does it or does it not
Yeah,
prevent that, so
does or not, does not prevent.
it does not prevent.
It doesn't prevent undue or,
Right, so he's gonna suffer, he's suffering the hardship,
right.
so anything we do, we can't eliminate that hardship. It's gonna be there anyway, that's why it's getting, so
kind of stumbling through with does and does
So,
not.
it's a little confusing.
Does prevent unnecessary or undue hardship. It does
It's like
prevent,
two
it.
negatives almost.
Variance.
Does, right?
Yeah, I think it should.
Does
be
prevent unnecessary and undue hardship. By granting him the variance, we're taking that unnecessary, so it's does, not does not. Sorry, we're working through a new worksheet, guys.
Oh, no, thank you.
If the proposed variance is a setback.
So I make a
Oh,
motion
I'm
to
sorry.
approve.
Yeah.
That it does prevent unnecessary or undue hardship. By literally enforcement without negative affecting public interest. Anyone want a second?
I'll second. All in favor? If the proposed variance is a setback adjustment, the zoning board of appeals shall consider the following: that the structure is a single-family dwelling that is a primary year-round residency applicant. Well, that's not, doesn't apply.
No.
That the variance granted will not exceed 20% of the setback requirement.
If he's gonna move it back, if he can get another 10 feet, then that would be
5%.
20% would be 20 feet.
right.
So that one. Yeah, I mean, you're in, well, no, 65 feet would be the smallest.
Right, but it's gonna be 75 feet, once he moves it back to, if he can move it back.
Well, it's 20-foot wedge, so you could
You
add.
can't
10
take
feet.
that and turn it
No, not really.
But if you take
because of
the,
the,
it makes a wedge, so it's actually 75 feet,
because of the.
Right.
would be the exact split. So if he gains another 10, you'd be 85 feet, you'd be
So you're gonna be
15%.
75 and 95 would be the two measurements that you do.
which would give you an even split of 85. So you'd only be 15%.
That the variance will not cause the dwelling to exceed the maximum allowable lot coverage.
I think we looked at that, there's two sizes for the square footage, that's figured out to less than,
0.8%.
yeah, right.
That the setback reduction shall not further encroach upon or further reduce non-conforming setback from a normal high water line or upland edge of freshwater wetland within shoreline zone as defined here. Well, that's kind of the crux of the problem, but that's
Right.
also why DEP is going to.
Right.
So. That the granting of the variance is based upon demonstrated need, not convenience, and no other feasible alternative is available.
I think the applicant demonstrated the need.
Yeah.
Based on 4AE above, the planning board finds the proposed variance does or does not meet the criteria for the setback reduction.
I think it does, right?
Does, yes.
I'll make a motion that it does meet the criteria for the setback reduction.
Second it. All in favor? If the proposed variance is in the shoreline zoning area, as required by section 38.6.4 of the Rangeley Town Code, the zoning board of appeals shall determine if the following criteria have been met. No result in unreasonable damage to wildlife habitat.
I don't believe that's a designated deer yard or anything of that nature.
Reasonable conservation of shoreline vegetation. I'm
I
assuming.
went down there and looked, it doesn't look like there's, where the garage is gonna go, there is no vegetation, just grass. There's no trees or bushes or anything like that. just grass.
Is there a vegetative buffer between the line, shoreline and the lawn? Or is it lawn right to the water?
The lawn's right to the wall, with the exception, there's a wild rose bush of like 10 feet in one section. Other than that, the lawn goes right to the water's edge.
So the contractor who does the work and should know, but if it's you, then you just need to make sure you meet all of it. And I'm sure DEP will tell you this. You're gonna have to meet all the filtration and mitigation, fencing and things of that sort.
Yeah,
So-
okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I was using Kenny there. I'm sure he's aware of that, so.
With evidence.
I mean, he shielded my driveway a couple of times and I touched base with him and he said that he, would do all the site work.
All right. Reasonable conservation of visual points of access to water as viewed from the public facilities.
Where it is no public.
I don't think that applies, but still, where he's gonna put the garage is not gonna encroach or impinge on that right of way that other person has to walk down to the lake.
Do you have to cut any trees? That's all lawn, right?
No, it's all lawn, it's mowed.
Okay, conservation of points of public access to water.
Well, what he's gonna, basically, they're gonna use their mitigation measures to protect any vegetation stuff and not damage that right of way.
Right, but that's still not a public.
I mean, they're not gonna pile a bunch of rocks there to block the right of way or do anything like that.
That right of way is just a deeded right of access to
The
the
block
property
property.
holder, right?
Right, yeah, you can't put any furniture on it. You can't leave a boat on it. You can't.
But
do
it's not
anything.
public, right?
No,
It's for one person.
yeah, it's just for that half-acre lot that used to belong to the waterfront lot.
Reasonable conservation of natural beauty. It seems like it's gonna adversely affect what's.
No, I wouldn't think so, unless he's gonna have it orange, fluorescent orange or something. I assume it's gonna look like the house,
Yes,
which I think is brown.
well, it's log siding.
Yeah,
Reasonable avoidance of problems associated with floodplain development or use. What was the statement in here about floodplain?
right. I saw that.
Oh, when we bought the camp originally, because it was considered in a floodplain, we had a map, we had it surveyed for elevation and did a map of amendment. and took that property out of the federal flood zone, the property is higher than the 200 year flood mark.
By an
So
inch.
it's no longer, if you were to look at the flood mark map in Rangeley, that property and the old Boucher property is no longer in the flood zone. So we're not required to carry FEMA insurance.
Okay,
It just saves you from having flood insurance, so. But the
No,
water's never, I mean, we've had it for 30 years, have never even, come close to being up on the lawn or anything.
no result in unsafe or unhealthful conditions. It seemed like it would.
Yeah.
So the next point is no result in erosion or sedimentation, which is what I talked about. Of, best practice mitigation when you do construction
Right,
and or whatever DEP might ask you for.
right. I mean, putting up the socks and stuff when you do the digging to keep sediment from going towards the lake, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then you'll have runoff on your roof that you'll have to deal with,
Right, yeah.
a drip edge or et cetera, et cetera.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No result in water pollution.
No arc, no arc a lot. I can never say that word. Thank you.
No what?
Resources. I was reading the next one. Like, I was trying to say archaeological. There you
Okay.
go.
Protection of archaeological resources
I
as
don't think
designated by the
anything's been
comprehensive.
identified down
Okay. Based on 5AJ above, the zoning board of appeals find the proposed variance does or does not meet with the requirements within the shoreland areas.
there.
Does. Mr. Motion Man.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I'll second it. All in favor? Okay. Conditions, if any, are required to ensure compliance with the above section of the Rangeley Town Code. So the condition would be that it meets approval of DEP.
Okay,
It meets approval after DEP review. So
Yeah. Determination, based on the above, based upon the preceding findings and conclusions, the variance request is hereby granted with conditions or denied.
Granted with notice conditions.
Yep. And we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance on the condition that it meets DEP approval after their review.
I'll second it. All in favor? Okay.
now is that something that you submit or do we submit that?
The town will submit it.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Yes.
I blurted that out, but I was. Okay. Good, thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for your time and the approval.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
I'll sign that now, Marty. or-
Yes. I'll get you some tonight.
All in favor?
Brian, you made that motion.
Yeah, I did.
Yep.
In 2 seconds. The original for me. I will type up the original in the morning and I'll make sure you guys get CC'd on it just so you can see what I sent to code
Okay.
enforcement and to the customer.
Perfect. Short.
And somebody hopefully will just kind of let us know. It'd be kind of nice to know what the finding of the state is.
I'm sure they're not gonna have a problem with it.
I agree. I'd just like to see.
For the sheer fact that there is no